Seraphina Nightshade. It was on a Tuesday, under a waning moon, that the silver seed fell from the sky and landed in the center of Seraphina Nightshade's overgrown garden. It pulsed with a soft, celestial light, and the soil around it began to shimmer with frost that did not melt, even as the sun rose. This was no mere meteorite, it was a herald, a silent, radiant disruption to the quiet, solitary life she had cultivated for a century. Seraphina refused to acknowledge the seed call. She tended to her moonbloom lilies and whispered to her thorny roses as if nothing had changed. "This garden is my world," she told the silent stars, "and I will not be swayed by a piece of the sky. My roots are here, deep in this earth, and they will not be pulled up by celestial whimsy." She tried to bury the seed, but the earth itself rejected the act, pushing it back to the surface. An old man named Ignacio appeared at her gate one evening, his eyes holding the same soft luminescence as the seed. He spoke not of the heavens, but of soil and cycles.
"Her garden does not change, becomes a tomb. Seraphina Nightshade,"
he said, his voice like the rustling of dry leaves. The last garden of the moon is not a place to be kept, but a memory to be awakened. I can show you the path, but your feet must choose to walk it. With a final glance at her familiar sleeping flowers, Seraphina placed a hand upon the silver seed. It warmed to her touch, and a door of pure light shimmered into existence. Taking a breath that felt like her first and her last, she stepped through the threshold, leaving the scent of damp earth and roses behind for the cold, thin air of a forgotten path among the stars. The path was fraught with crystalline brambles that sought to ensnare her, and whispers on the solar wind that mocked her earthly origins. But she also found allies, a small, quick-witted fox made of starlight named Lyra, who guided her through treacherous passes, and a solemn stone giant named Orin, who cleared avalanches of cosmic dust. They spoke of the Wardens of Oblivion, faceless entities who sought to keep the garden's memory extinguished forever. But they arrived at the edge of a great crater, the fabled basin where the garden was said to have once flourished. Now it was a desolate plain, shrouded in a silence so profound it felt heavy. "This is the heart of it," Lyra the fox whispered, her light dimming. "What sleeps here does not wish to be awakened. To go in is to challenge the very nature of forgetting." Seraphina felt the weight of centuries in that silence, a final test before the true ordeal began. In the crater's center, the largest Warden of Oblivion awaited, a shifting form of shadow and nullity. It did not attack, but instead showed the profound peace of nothingness. A world without the pain of memory, without the struggle of growth. It offered to erase her own long life of solitude. Her greatest fear was not death, but irrelevance. To be forgotten. To fight it, she had to first embrace the beauty of her own memories, thorns and all, and choose to be remembered. As she affirmed her existence, her voice a solitary note in the void, the Warden shattered into a shower of cold sparks. Where it fell, the ground began to quicken. A single, impossible flower, blossom of captured moonlight and velvet, pushed through the barren soil. Its fragrance was that of hope and remembrance. She had done it. She had not just found the garden, she had planted its first new seed. The journey back along the star path felt different. The cosmos seemed brighter, the silence now a comfortable companion rather than a threat. Lyra bounded ahead, her light painting new constellations, and Orin's heavy footfalls were a steady, reassuring drumbeat. Seraphina carried the living flower, its roots wrapped in celestial soil, and felt the ghost of the old life slipping away, replaced by the quiet certainty of her new purpose. At the threshold to her own world, the final Warden emerged, taking the form of her own doubt, a mirror image of her former self, beckoning her back to safe solitude. "Stay," it pleaded with her own voice. But Seraphina simply smiled, touched the moonflower she held, and watched as its light caused the double to dissolve. Her transformation was complete. She was no longer just a keeper of a garden, but a sower of celestial life. Seraphina Nightshade stepped back into her earthly garden, but it was forever changed. The silver seed had blossomed into a slender tree with leaves of liquid starlight, and her old flowers now bowed gently toward its radiance. She had returned with the elixir of memory itself, and her garden was no longer the last, but the first, a bridge between the forgotten moon and the remembering earth, and she its eternal joyful custodian.